After a long, tense wait, the final season of Game of Thrones finally premiered on April 14th, 2019, with the first episode coming in at just under an hour, despite being packed full of revelations, reunions, and more. The return of Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, the 3 living Lannisters, and a metric ton more of the show's characters brought a few answers and even more questions with them. Questions like, did you catch when Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia showed up? Here's everything else of importance that happened in the Game of Thrones season premiere, and everything we still want to know for the remaining episodes of the series. The trailers leading up to the premiere offered plenty of shots of Daenerys arriving at Winterfell, and audiences didn't have to wait long. In the very first shot of the season premiere, a Winterfell boy climbs a tree to see Daenerys' army arrive, with the Mother of Dragons and her right-hand man Jon Snow flanked by dragons, Unsullied, and Dothraki as they arrive at the stronghold of the North. Appropriately for the chilly North, the welcome is less than warm, considering Northerners are instinctively distrustful of any foreigners, especially a new queen from the far south and 2 enormous dragons. It isn't just the townspeople who don't trust Daenerys. Sansa, Jon's sister, immediately dislikes the Dragon Queen, who she considers at once naive and arrogant for trusting Cersei to serve as an ally to the North. Whatever Sansa's attitude might be, it's clear that Daenerys' assimilation into the Northern way of life won't be simple, and will likely be a struggle for the rest of the season. Cersei Lannister is always one of the toughest characters to read, and in the premiere, she's just as inscrutable as ever. Still astride the Iron Throne, she seems completely unperturbed by the news that the White Walkers have breached the wall, especially considering that the Golden Company, an army of mercenaries under Cersei's control, has just arrived at King's Landing thanks to her unlikely fiancé, Euron Greyjoy. After he delivers her new army, the two finally consummate their relationship, which leads to probably one of the least sexy post-romance lines you'll hear all week.
I'm going to put a prince in your belly.
As you might expect, the Icy Queen looks pretty uncomfortable, sipping a glass of wine as he leaves the room. Last season, audiences heard Cersei tell Jaime she was pregnant with Jaime's baby.
Who would you say is the father?
You.
Meanwhile, Tyrion found out about his new niece or nephew a couple episodes later. That unborn child still seems to be a secret. So after she drove Jaime to abandon her at the end of Season 7, Cersei may manipulate Euron into being the next man to unwittingly claim one of Jaime and Cersei's kids as his own. Whether Cersei is creeped out by a new boyfriend, or if she's planning to pull a Maury and tell Euron he's the father, we'll just have to wait for a future episode to find out. The most brutal reveal regarding Cersei ultimately comes from Qyburn, her resident mad scientist, who shows up during one of Bronn's routine brothel visits to casually tell him that Cersei would like both of her brothers dead, and the one to do it would be rewarded beyond his wildest dreams. Cersei obviously has a plan in place, but how it will unfold is still anyone's guess. Ever since viewers found out the truth about Jon's parents, that he was actually born to a legally married Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, making him an undisputed prince, fans have been waiting for Jon to find out too, and this episode got right to the point. Aside from plenty of pointed comments about who Jon is, there's one huge moment in this episode hinting at Jon's true heritage, followed by the big reveal that finally puts one of the show's biggest revelations in front of the person it'll affect the most. Jon, still blissfully ignorant of the fact that he's been sleeping with his aunt, is having a lovely day date with his new girlfriend until she suggests that they ride her 2 remaining dragons. With Daenerys riding Drogon, the dragon she always takes into battle, Jon is left with Rhaegal, who is actually named for his father, Daenerys' brother, Rhaegar. In the moment, it feels especially significant that Rhaegal allows Jon to mount without protest. However, at the end of the episode, the show does away with all the pretense that it will keep this secret, letting Sam tell Jon the entire truth about who he is, much to Jon's shock, and naturally it all happens right in front of Ned Stark's statue in the crypt. Reunions between favorite characters rank among the most important and anticipated moments in this season, and the premiere certainly didn't disappoint, even though some of them weren't particularly happy. Arya and Jon's reunion at the Godswood in Winterfell was certainly one of the episode's most emotional moments, even giving the two a minute to compare their swords. Meanwhile, another brother, Theon, showed up in the 11th hour to rescue his sister Yara, who eventually showed her gratitude in the most Greyjoy way possible. Sir Jorah Mormont also got the chance to thank Sam Tarly, who once cured him of grayscale, though their reunion took a pretty sour turn once Daenerys let Sam know what she did to the rest of his family last season.
Dracarys.
The reunion between Sansa and Tyrion was almost as tense, since Sansa doesn't believe in him or his plans anymore. Another tense reunion took place between Jon and Sam, especially since a hysterical Sam holds the key to Jon's parentage and is fresh off the discovery that he's now the only Tarly man left. However, the most fraught was definitely between Jaime Lannister and Bran Stark, once the former arrives at Winterfell, considering that Jaime last saw Bran when he pushed him out of a window and tried to kill him in the very first episode. Audiences haven't seen Tormund Giantsbane, everyone's favorite red-headed wildling, since he was spotted at Eastwatch last season as the wall melted around him, so fans were likely thrilled to see both Tormund and Beric Dondarrion alive, but not particularly well at another northern castle, trying to figure out how many dead they had to deal with and whether or not the army was close by. Ultimately, they find the body of young Ned Umber, the tiny leader of the House Umber, pinned to the wall and surrounded by dismembered limbs and a spiral pattern, which Beric notes as a message from the Night King. Spiral patterns shouldn't surprise any loyal Game of Thrones viewers, especially not where White Walkers are concerned. In the very first episode, the Walkers arranged the limbs of their victims in a circular pattern, somewhat reminiscent of the one that includes poor dead Ned. They can also be seen using dead horses to draw their spiral sign in Season 3, when Jon and the Wildlings go to the Fists of the First Men.
Always the artists.
So what does the spiral mean? Well, it's pretty simple. This is the Night King's way of telling the armies of Westeros,
hold on to your butts.
the White Walkers are coming, and probably in the very next episode. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Game of Thrones are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.